How you going? What's going
Yeah,
on?
really. Yeah, it's just at the end of the long weekend, just enjoying all the reviews that have been coming in and knowing that the album's finally out there. So it's a big relief on our end.
Absolutely, man. It's a fucking amazing album.
Oh,
Like,
thank you.
man, yeah, like the boys and I just absolutely love it. Like Ben did the review and he's like, this album's so brutal.
That's what we want to hear.
Yeah,
Very unrelenting in its vision.
yeah, absolutely. I was listening to it at the gym and everything and gets you going. It's a fucking amazing record. But I mean, obviously, it's super positive for all you guys. Did you celebrate it all together in some way, the release?
Well, everyone's off with their families at the moment because it's landed on the start of a long weekend. It's the biggest one in the calendar, really. And I'm still down in Melbourne, so I'm quite isolated from the boys, but I'll be going up to be doing some rehearsals in order to be ready for the live circuit. And then we'll be doing some proper kunterbunting up there once I'm up.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Did you plan to have it released on Good Friday, or was it just something that happened?
It's kind of cool and an ominous sort of head nod to a lot of the biblical references that I put into the lyrics over the last couple of releases. It wasn't intentional. I don't pay that much attention to the holy calendar, but it's kind of good because it did mean that if people were chilling out and they weren't at work for the day, it was a good excuse to crank some metal while they're flipping the sausages or avoiding their kids.
That's it. Or getting the fish if they're like really
Yeah, yeah,
deep into the religious side of things. I don't think anyone follows that here. I don't know. A couple of people, maybe.
yeah.
I'll eat a steak on Good Friday and give a fuck. Anyway, how far back do these songs go? To the pandemic and did that sort of bleak period of time influence the writing and performance of the record?
I would not say it influenced the writing of the riffs rather than it just gave us ample time to be able to send each other a lot of the preliminary stuff. So a lot of blueprints for the song Carl would
Mm.
send out to everyone. And we had a lot of open communication as a band of which direction it should be going. But Carl and I had already discussed the main theme of like choice words and direction that we'd like it to go. So that was a cool little water finding device of where the songs might want to head.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Well, I mean, how was the writing for it though? Like, did you actually get a chance to flesh it out in a room together at some point?
The boys up in Sydney did get little windows of freedom
Yeah.
during the pandemic that they could go and rehearse and but we've always been a bit of an email band. We like to send each other our homework and we discuss it that way. It's always great to be able to be in a room and get through it and work out where the nuts and bolts are of a song. But we become very efficient in our own isolation as well. For me, writing down here during pandemic was for all the lyrical kind of things. It was a saving grace because it allowed me to keep my sanity. It was a project that distracted me from the monotony of being in four walls, and it allowed me to really delve into the research side of things that goes into creating characters for these albums.
In regards to the characters, that's something that really interests me. There's a full concept with, I believe it's four characters it's based
Yes.
on. Is that right? Okay, so
Yes, based on they inhabit the key elements of where we've failed as humans
hmm,
and where the ills of our society lie. It's a nice little totem that can be focused in and be the body that these sins inhabit.
do they have names? Have how far back
Yes.
do the characters go?
Some of them rear their heads in amongst Vestigial, our 2017 album, and there are hints of certain characters all the way back to 2015 in the Tongueless as well.
Wow.
If you look at, say, the album title, the titles of the individual tracks, on the Tongueless, the last track is called Megafauna, and on Vestigial, the first track is Hall of Extinct Mammals. So you can see where I've led from, that a living, breathing mammoth or so, or a giant dodo, all of a sudden we're now transported to the British Museum, walking along the taxidermetry of everything we've colonized and destroyed. So I take things in subconsciously and also very literally as well.
So are they, in terms of the characters themselves, how they're human, right? They're human characters. Is that right?
They can be human. Like everyone has the monsters within themselves.
Yeah.
So no one is completely evil, no one is completely good. And I have become both the oppressor and the oppressed. You can tell by the way, as if you were reading a screenplay between two characters. And different changes of pitch of voice, the settings of Carl's samples that we'll have leading into a track to make that really cinematic vibe of what is going on. The overall tone of the records allows these creatures and characters to inhabit.
I love it, dude. And cinematic is definitely the word for it.
Yes.
I mean,
yeah.
It's.
I would say that comes hand in hand with the experience of Carl being in post metal with We Lost the Sea. It's definitely a great way for him to cut his teeth. And then that also played into great effect with him learning the trade of animation during the cycle of when I've been in the band. So I've watched his skills flourish, and that is able to illustrate our world along with Shapiro's fantastic videos that he films and directs for us. It all just creates this lovely ecosystem that our songs and our characters can inhabit.
You know what? I feel like I haven't even scratched the surface of it. You know, into it.
Unfortunately, yeah, we are one of those bands where, sure, we do have singles, especially of the more abrasive, faster, punky or metallic-y hardcore, blackened hardcore sounds. Those ones, they can be digested immediately and they'll smack you in the face. It's a very visceral, energetic mosh pit style of a song. But a lot of our records, they have these post-metal opuses that bleed out and you're allowed to travel on a journey. There's subtleties in it. As well as being sludge metal, we draw on so many of our different individual genres that are able to paint a bigger picture and create that world. So a second listen, a third listen, you will scratch the surface and get more out of it. And I also intend people not just to listen to the Gleaners start to finish, but also imagine it as in part of the triptych of the 3 releases as well. So Tongueless, Vestigial, and the Gleaners all as one body of work that, even though it's the same sort of subject matter, it's painted with different elements of abrasiveness and aggression and sludge metal all throughout.
There's a lot to discover. There's a lot to dig into.
I want you rambling on that little Frodo adventure to Mordor with me, you know?
I'll get my little backpack, man. But,
exactly.
Yeah, but I mean, you know, that's the thing. The more you listen to it, the more it seems to unveil about itself. And I really think you guys have really outdone yourselves. It's such a fucking incredible piece of work. And man, I just feel like one day it'll drop and I'll go, I understand everything. I've got to wait to that point.
Maybe you shouldn't understand everything either. It's always good to have a bit of mystery and embellish a story as well. Yeah.
And you mentioned the videos as well. Like, man, that racking video is fucking amazing. Like the animation, and did such a incredible job. Like, Carl directed that, right?
Yes, he did. I was actually the actor in that, screaming along those lines in his downstairs studio / basement, basically in my undies, while he captured that in real time and then brilliantly rotoscoped animation over the top of it. So it's a particular style that it has a really stark, nice, crisp look to it, as well as being really visceral and hand-drawn. So all that viciousness and vileness of the performance, it can be captured in those scratchy scribblings of a madman over the top.
Yeah. How long did it take to do it? Because it looks like, man, so much went into it.
Enough to drive him slightly mad, I'm sure. I would say that the fear of Christmas future of whether or not it was going to be a good clip in the end must have kept him on the mouse cursor and keep going and going and going to make sure that all the edits were perfect. I pity how long it would have taken him to do. So for me, it was the easy part. I'd rather just jump around in my undies for 20 minutes, get a couple of good takes, and then the poor sod has to do that for the next 5 weeks.
It was well worth it. Well worth it. Is there going to be merch with the animated version of you on it? I could imagine.
But I don't know. Maybe you'll see like a little head bobbly thing you can stick on your cardboard dash.
Look at me. Look, bro.
Yeah.
I want action figures. I want like busts with the teeth coming out, man. Like,
Yeah.
how do you want to just give you my bank account details now?
Yeah. Take
Like,
my money.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely, bro. I think there's definitely something there that
Yeah.
in a collectible sense, I guess.
Yeah,
But it's
there's some
cool.
wonderful merch items that we do now have out for the Gleaners cycle, which they're all very stylish, very, very crisp. Some of it looks like it could be inducted into Hogwarts. Other it looks a bit like military propaganda. The rest of it's just very subtle pieces of art. Yeah, there's something for everyone in it, and we enjoy that part of creating it just as much as the song part in the end, because we all are very artistic at heart.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. And, talking about the whole cinematic side of things, are you looking at taking that further in future? Like, are you wanting to like write scores or even do like a concept movie like Pink Floyd, The Wall, incorporated with your vision?
Look, to be honest, I saw a window in of like a gap in the Australian music sense of heavy releases, where you have artists like Men at Work, sorry, not Men at Work, Midnight Oil.
Yes.
You have artists like Sumper the Great, Moju. These are people that they're there with their heart on their sleeve, showing the injustices of our country, especially when it comes to people's lost identities or cultures or environmental extremes. But I had not seen much done of that xenophobic profile of the failures of our country, with a real Eurocentric view to it, done in the heavy sense. So no Australian band, to me, in my foremind, has released concept albums in heavy Australian music of that nature. And I'm obsessed with the concept stuff of, say, Roger Waters, of
Yep.
Gallows, Ray Britton. These are ones that take me on a journey where I do not skip from track 1 to track 10. I consume it as if I would consume an entire novel. And I would love that our work would be discovered and celebrated, or at least left in sitting in sadness of its message in that way. I'm very proud of what the band has done with over this release.
Yeah.
And I really think it's our most expansive and experimental piece of music we've done as a band so far.
100%, dude. 100%. And I'm excited to see what you guys do next.
Yeah, thank you. It's definitely injected some faith in us experimenting, So we didn't want to just redo a formula. There'll always be elements of that groove at the heart of songs, at that sludge groove, but the need to keep ourselves interested and be genuine to how we're going to create music, that was the driving force of, yes, we can do this. There's no doubt left here. We go out, we do it our way.
Really seems like you got a green light now. Like anything is possible.
Yes.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like
Yeah.
the highway's free, man. You can just do whatever you like and open those doors. And I think that as an artist, there's nothing more exciting, I think, having that freedom, and you're not bound to the chains of, oh, we have to do this. We have to be this. We have to sound like this. And it's cool, man.
Yeah, I think that when artists are in that moment of being uncomfortable or outside their comfort zone, that unease, but skin it, that's when it gets most exciting. That is when you're like, of course we can put in this cinematic part. Of course we can use this sample. Why shouldn't we have animal sounds as samples in this part? And you just build up this portrait of the creature that you're trying to flesh out. And that's when you know that you've done it right, when you left feeling the impact of your own risks. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. And, I know you guys go under, I guess, sludge as the genre, but I don't know, man. I think there's more to you guys musically and conceptually than that title, personally.
Mm-hmm.
I think
it's more for the ease of the journalist usually.
Yes.
We've noticed, of course, we are enjoyed quite a bit in Europe. It helps a journalist's ability to pigeonhole us somewhere. If that exposes us to people already within that sort of realm, that's fine. But for us, we're always going to draw on our different backgrounds anyway. So it's it's all subjective of what you want to call it. It is definitely heavy. It's definitely extreme in its own ways, whether we go fast tempo or slow tempo. And we just want that really extreme, whether it's extreme happiness, extreme sadness, extreme rage, that purity to be spilling out.
Well, I mean, as you can see behind me, have we got the thing, the tool?
Yeah.
There you are. I think my thumb's right there. There you are. Right there. You know, what an incredible fucking show that was, dude. And I really think you guys got a lot in common with those guys musically in terms of, you know, they're hard to pin down in genre. And I'm discovering more bands like that, and they're getting put under the sludge, or it's like this hardcore metal core. Yeah, not metalcore, but I don't know, man. It seems like there's this growing subgenre that hasn't really got that name to it yet. So I don't know, man. What would you call it?
Black and sludge being thrown around lately to me, but I didn't even know that was a term when I first joined Load like 11 years ago. So there's a new little tag that goes with everything every year, it seems. And I would like to think that at least in the genres that we've been placed in, we at least raise the bar a little bit each time with each next release. So as long as it's so important to me that what a person, like a fan, thinks of our music, but it's also important to me what I would associate with, say, my peers in my genre as well, of what they think. When I hear someone like that tell me that they enjoy my music, that's just made my day, because there's no fucking money in extreme music. We do it for the love of it and the genuine expression of our art. And to have someone that you respect, or see the effort that someone is enjoying it or researching what you've just created, that it just is priceless to me.
And how was it touring with those boys anyway?
It was a wonderful experience. They're fantastic dudes, really humble about their craft, immensely talented for each of the members. And it was also a lot of laughs as well. So they've got a good sense of humor, which is great, because we are very silly at heart. When we're doing music this extreme, you got to be able to let off steam and be silly afterwards as well. So yeah, a lot of puns, a lot of silly sightseeing, and just fantastic crowds at each show. And that was one of the highlights for me, because I grew up on Gaza. I was a massive fan of theirs. Yeah, and I had to do the embarrassing thing on the first afternoon of, guys, all right, gather around. Can we get this over with? And I pull my jeans up, and I show them my Gaza tattoo, and I show them my Gaza backpack, and then they're like, "Oh, Jesus, all right, okay, man, yeah, I'm not going to stab you in my sleep, trust me." But yeah, and a wonderful bunch of blokes, and that record, A Patient Man, was easily the highlight for me of that year. So it was just the right place, the right time. Our friend Lachlan Watt was happy to have us on board, and it was a dream. One of my highlights of my musical career, for sure.
You know what? That talking about albums coming at the right time, that album came at me at the right time as well. Patient Man, like,
yeah,
it's weird how music can do that. Hey, like, you'll just be in a certain place and you discover this album, and then it just seemed to come along on the ride with you and sort of help guide you through it. And that was a record that did that for me. So yeah. And
I feel that way in ISO. I feel a lot of people gathered that from the most recent Napalm Death album.
Yes.
For a bunch of older blokes, they show you just how vicious and to the point, and also not afraid of experimentation as well in their genre, to create such a bold piece of work, even amongst the chaos of what's going on around them. That's one of their best albums they've ever done. I repeatedly go back and delve in further to each song, because there's so much going on.
I can't even remember the title of it, but I love it. It was
Death and Joyism in the throes of defeatism? Yeah, it's
with the dub on it, with the really uncomfortable album cover. But man, Barney's a massive influence on me. Like
same. But all his later work. So everything for me, I tuned in after Diatribes. So my favorite album actually of theirs is Apex Predator Easy Meat from 2015.
Yep.
And that's where I was got the balls to want to throw some more sort of preacher at the pulpit style vocals, to add spoken word, to almost have that chant, that drunk monk in a temple vibe. Everything he does, it sounds very throaty, very phlegmy, and full of anguish and rage. Yeah, I love his vocal performances. He's definitely an iconic force.
And live, especially for his age, like the pacing. Like, I found someone said, mate, you do a lot of that. You know how Bunny paces like? So yeah, he goes, you do that. I go, do I? And they're like, yeah. Maybe it's sunk in. I don't know. And he's such a lovely dude. He's such like but he spits so much fucking venom. I love it.
Yeah.
Man, here's the napalm. But we're not talking about napalm. We're talking about you. Well, let's reel it back to you and what you're doing, because mate, you're going on the road very soon.
Yes.
This goes up after it gets announced.
Oh, so I can tell you?
Yeah. I got an email from this afternoon going, look, it's getting announced here, so I won't put it up until after. So we're all sweet.
Okay, so yeah, we do have, those people listening, we do have a few shows that we're bringing the Gleaners cycle out to you with our good friends in hand, Black Lava. So they'll be bringing themselves along for each of those shows. We're doing June 10th at the EVELYN in Melbourne with Black Lava and Class Traitor. And by now they would have brought out their new material, which is fucking killer. Then we've also got June 16 at Crown and Anchor in Adelaide, the Cranker, as they like to call it locally, with Black Lava and Issuers. These boys gig a hell of a lot, and they've saved a little bit of their steam in the tank for us, which is great. And then we have got the next night, June 17th, at CROWBAR in Sydney. It's us, Black Lava, and Issuer again. And then finally, in July 15th, we are playing as one of the main headliners with Extortion and Disentomb. We're playing the Cold Night in Brisbane. So that's the new massive metal festival that's been put on by a couple of good friends of ours. And Black Lava will also be along for the ride as well. That's going to be probably the gig to go to this year in Brisbane. And other than that, there'll be some more spicy little shows that we'll be doing later in the year, but I'm just putting those lineups together. And if you check out www.lookandbehold.net, you can watch all those crazy film clips that we're talking about. You can see all the dates that are coming up and snap up some of those hectic vinyl variations that we now have for sale.
Done and done, mate. I'm so keen. Mate, I was like, I forgot to cut and paste the dates in there. You just went, you know what? Sit down. I'll drive. I was like, oh, man,
it became a bit disc jockey there for a second, didn't it?
Mate, have you ever considered doing the podcast thing? Because you know, I reckon you could do it.
I like to spin the yarn. I'm a good close talker, so it's safe for people if they have a podcast with me rather than a personal chat, because they're not going to get any spittle on them. I did do a podcast during lockdown to keep my sanity with my little brother. It's called Dylan's Dissect. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous, and it was often in very pickled form. We discussed everything from silly films to childhood memories about growing up in southern Sydney. But I much prefer the ability to be in complete control of an environment of what playing in a band is. I know the lyrics. I know where it's going to come in. I'm able to rely on my bandmates to push me forward, and then I just get to enact that preacher at the pulpit that I would have been in the lyrics.
What about a companion to Low in some way?
Do you companion to?
Yeah, like a companion sort of podcast that would sort of maybe delve into the things, or would you prefer to keep things under interpretation?
Yes, I definitely think I would like to give the freedom for the listener, and the way I see it is Low is made up of the sum of us as a family unit. But it is Carl's baby and his visions of the way that the music is shaped. I merely am an actor that that is able to live in the world that he's created. So without his riffs, or without Griff's drumming, or without Shapiro's bass playing, then I am just a vessel, I don't exist. So I am a product of the world that shapes around me. If it came to, say, acting or something else, another project, then yeah, I would be able to become a different character for that. But I quite like the chemistry that I have with the boys, and I can always trust that the music that they send me or that we talk about together is always a genuine expression of what we should be doing.
Mate, that's one thing, is when you're up there doing your thing, you are, I think I've mentioned it last time, you're like a man possessed.
Yeah, it is a bit exorcism, but sometimes it takes over. And then, like Lachlan Watt told me once, that I was Jim Carrey's The Mask of extreme metal.
Yeah.
Just because of all the rubberishness of the face and the gestures. But I figure if you're going to be otherworldly and extra human and vile in your lyrics, then to be genuine to the song, I want to inhabit the whole thing of it. So
yes.
Yeah.
With that though, it's very genuine. I don't think it's something like, this is what I'm going to do, this is how I'm going to act.
Oh, no.
Do you feel that? Because I've gotten it when I perform sometimes, and I go, where did I go? Where? Oh, okay. Where did
you had an out of body experience?
Absolutely, man. When I don't feel like I'm myself when I'm performing.
Okay.
What it is. Do you feel that way as well, in a sense that something seems to, maybe another part of you or something takes over and drives? I don't know what it is, man. I'm trying to figure it out myself.
Yeah. Okay. I think it's muscle memory of because I've done a lot of shows now over the years. I guess it's muscle memory of what I'm able to do and what feels genuine in the moment. So every venue is different and every crowd's different. But there is that discipline I have of not drinking before shows and getting enough rest and going to the gym and making sure that the body that I am using to thrash about and convulse is still going to be able to do it the next night. But it is the performance of personality that is what I'm doing while I'm up there. So yeah. I am conscious of what's going on, but most of the time it's making sure that I am right to the music and that I'm in time and that I'm hitting the note that I recorded back then and doing the justice to the album. Really, that's what I'm thinking about.
There you go, man. See, I just find it super interesting. It's like another experience playing. Hey, like, you know what you're doing, but it's, I don't know, if you could just bottle it or get someone can explain this shit to me. I don't know. All I know is how I feel when I play, and I sort of, when I watch you perform, I go, man, like he's channeling something. It's going on, dude. There's something going on in that dude that's otherworldly. I don't know. Maybe that's a bit hippy dippy. I don't know, but
no, I think that's great. If you didn't have that sort of nervousness or anxiety before going on, or that adrenaline, then I think it would be a very sad day to just turn up, clock in, clock out, go home. Like I love the feeling of a live performance. It's just like nothing else. And when we record low albums, at its heart, it's making sure that live essence, that live energy is still there in the songs. It's better to have it a bit rough and ready at the edges and a bit crunchy, so that it does translate better live. So it is there. So that spirit hasn't just been lost.
Yeah.
Sometimes things get too polished and it removes the humanity from what you're doing.
I never get that with you and your performance.
Oh, that's great. I'm glad. I thought you were about to go, well, I'd hate to tell you.
Well, sit down, Sam. I got to tell you something. No, no, not at all, man. Not at all. But of course, you got this tour coming up. That festival's going to be fucking incredible. I can't wait for that. But what else is on the cards? More Haddlemore, other projects?
There will be some Haddlemore stuff hopefully happening at the end of the year, because we are marking, I think it's the 12th year now since Sinium, the first ever album, was released. So we might be dusting off a few old covers and pulling them into the hat. And also, it's about time we probably do another album. But congratulations to my guitarist, Ben. He'll be celebrating the birth of his firstborn very soon. So that is why things in our camp are slowing down just slightly. And I don't blame for that. Everyone's got to be there for their first one, at least. And then I would say it's all steam ahead for Low. We signed with Doomstar touring with them. So with them, it's mostly overseas stuff. So we will be taking Gleaners on the road and doing hopefully an extensive Europe and USA run. So back that up.
Man, that's going to be incredible, dude. So hanging out on the show, brother. We'll have all the links down here to the Gleaners. I hope you and the boys have a kick-ass run up to these shows, and we'll see you in Brisbane. Here's the link down here. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you.
Thanks, guys. Enjoy. Stay metal.